Before we begin today, a brief content warning. Today on Things Are Getting Strange, a Twin Peaks rewatch podcast, we are going to be discussing episode 14 of Twin Peaks, otherwise known as Lonely Souls, or season 2, episode 7. This episode contains depictions and discussions of sexual abuse against women, violence against women and murder of women, abuse of minors, and yellowface. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Things Are Getting Strange, a Twin Peaks rewatch podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Kim.
And I have some news, sort of.
Oh, aye?
I want to believe the director's cut is still in the works. They haven't said why it's delayed, they haven't said when it's coming out, but apparently it's still due at some point.
Well, that's something, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as we said last time, I'm still, or whenever we first heard about it, it's like I'm still not sure how it's going to fix the film per se, but we'll see what Chris Carter wanted to do with it. I mean, I don't know if he can fix the plot line, which I think is one of the biggest hurdles the film has.
I can't argue with that, really. I was trying to think of an argument, but there we go.
I mean, that's all the enthusiasm about it. It's one of those. You've still got Billy Connolly playing this role, and ultimately it comes down to we don't care if you're psychic or not at the end of the film.
Yeah, the movie's odd tone of trying to make us sympathise with a character who's unsympathisable.
Yeah, and then it turns out he molested one of the Russian soldiers, and you go, what, why? We could have had anything for this film. Anything. Oh well, if it comes out with a different plot line, I will be thrilled. I mean, if the film is a masterpiece, I'll also be kind of thrilled because I genuinely want to see how that's going to work.
I just want my dog-headed person.
You might get that, but again, I don't know. It's one of these things though. If you ever look at behind the scenes stuff that's cut from films, is sometimes it's eye opening because they've edited it in such a way that you'd never know something was meant to be there originally and is now missing. And sometimes you can tell when something's been chopped, and there's obviously some kind of discontinuity. But as much as we didn't watch I Want to Believe in the Best Circumstances, the pizza hadn't arrived, and we were both really not.
Oh, we were hangry.
We were very hangry at the time,
Yeah.
so that probably didn't help. But then again, the first time we watched I Want to Believe, I didn't enjoy it much, and we were perfectly fine that time, and it was still just disappointing. We'll see where we go from that. Anyway, that's all I've seen. Presumably, film on the pilot is still going on set, and I think on the new one, so that they're doing whatever they're doing in Vancouver. I don't know how long they're going to be there for. Do you have any news?
I've got nothing.
Okay. Oh, well, we're trying not to talk about the wholly bleak episode of Twin Peaks this time.
Oh my. Yeah, you guys listen to the content warning, right? Just keep the content warning in mind. We warned you. Yeah, this is not a fun episode.
Except for the few bits where it is, because it's a tonal whiplash.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Should we get to it?
We can get to it. So, this is episode 14, or season 2, episode 7, or Lonely Souls to give it its name. It is written by Mark Frost. It is directed by David Lynch. So, take whatever cues you want from that if you're not aware of where we're going now. And first broadcast on the 10th of November, 1990. What does Margaret have to say for herself this time?
You want the log lady introduction? Okay, even Margaret Lanternman could not make this episode positive. A poem as lovely as a tree. As the night wind blows, the boughs move to and fro. The rustling, the magic rustling that brings on the dark dream. The dream of suffering and pain. Pain for the victim, pain for the inflictor of pain. A circle of pain, a circle of suffering. Woe to the ones who behold the pale horse.
Thank you, Margaret. It's not unclear this time, I think.
I mean, she's on the nose with this one.
It varies. Okay. Everything is ready for the Great Northern Hotel, while the one-armed man repeats his description of a large house made of wood surrounded by trees. The house is filled with many rooms, each alike but occupied by different souls, night after night. Cooper sends Hawk to investigate the pages from the diary found near the train tracks, and the diary that Donna told him about. Gordon leaves for secret business in Oregon. Mike looks at each hotel guest and employee and says no, but has a seizure as Ben Horn interrupts them. Hawk finds Harold's home is trashed and Harold's body dangling from his greenhouse rafters. Maddie sits with Leyland and Sarah and tells them she feels it is time to go back to her job and her apartment, but she will still come and visit. The police forensic team and officers investigate Harold's home, where they find a suicide note saying in French, "I am a lonely soul." Hawk finds Laura Palmer's secret diary ripped to shreds. Bobby, Shelley, and Leo are going over the bills, or at least Bobby and Shelley are. After all the payments, they have $42 left over from Leo's insurance. Shelley tells Bobby to take the necklace he bought her back. Bobby questions about selling Leo's truck, but Shelley says the police have seized it. Leo cries out and Shelley and Bobby both scream. Leo says new shoes, and Bobby sends Shelley to find a receipt for a pair of shoes that she took to get cleaned. Audrey tells Ben Horn she knows all about One-Eyed Jacks and reminds him about Prudence and the White Mask. He eventually confesses he's owned One-Eyed Jacks for 5 years, knew that Laura worked there, and that he slept with her. When Audrey asks if he killed her, he says he loved her. Shelley returns to the diner and cries while she tells Norma that she has to quit. Nadine and Big Ed arrive, while Nadine still believes she is in high school and accidentally crushes the glass in her hands. Bobby and Mike enter the Johnson home, and Bobby has Leo's old boots and tries to get Leo to react. Mike suggests there's something hidden in the heels, and Bobby finds a tape hidden in the heel of one of the boots. Cooper is reading over Laura Palmer's secret diary, which has been reconstructed. There are repeated references to Bob with descriptions of abuse and molestation. He's referred to as a friend of her father's. An entry says she will tell the world about Ben Horn one day. Audrey arrives and tells Cooper that Ben was sleeping with Laura and that Ben owns One-Eyed Jacks. Cooper asks Audrey not to repeat this to anyone, and tells Harry they need an arrest warrant for Benjamin Horn. Ben tells Mr. Tojimura that Jerry has investigated his company and they've approved the proposal. He's about to sign Tojimura's contract when the police officers enter and request that Ben accompany them for questioning regarding the murder of Laura Palmer. At the Palmer household, Sarah crawls down the stairs, moaning for Leyland. The officers take Ben Horn to a holding cell, and the log lady is waiting for them. She says there are owls in the roadhouse. At his home, Pete hears a sound and encounters Mr. Tojimura in his living room, where he unexpectedly kisses Pete. He takes off his glasses to reveal it is Catherine Martell. Sarah continues to crawl through her living room. She has a vision of a white horse before passing out. Behind her, Leyland adjusts his tie in the mirror. At the roadhouse, Donna meets with James in the booth. James says the death of Harold was not anyone's fault, and the log lady leads Cooper and Harry inside. James tells Donna that Maddie is leaving, and Donna comments that Maddie did not tell her. Sailors drink at the bar, as does Bobby. Cooper has a vision of the performing band disappearing, replaced by the giant, who says it is happening again. Leyland smiles at himself in the mirror. Bob smiles back. Leyland puts on a pair of latex gloves, while Maddie shouts that something is burning. She enters the living room, sees Sarah on the floor, and flees at the sight of Leyland. Bob/Leyland pulls her back into the room, chokes her, and beats her unconscious. He picks her up and spins her around while continually changing form, kissing her face and sobbing Laura's name. He suddenly smashes her head against a picture frame, killing her. Bob Leyland slackens his grip on the now dead Maddie, causing her to slump onto the floor. He picks up her hand and pushes a letter under her fingernail. Cooper and the giant stare at each other. The giant disappears and the band reappears. The senile room service man appears and walks over to Cooper and then to Bobby, saying he is sorry to either. Bobby visibly despairs, so does James, holding Donna as she bursts into tears. Cooper looks around thoughtfully.
Thank you.
Well, we have to start at the end of this one, don't we?
You're going to start with the white horse in the room sofa?
Yes. And,
the pale horse, I would say. The pale horse.
The pale horse, of which the symbol is very obvious. And, Rob Zombie liked it. We can be pretty sure. That's
Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie. Yeah. Halloween 2, the bad Halloween 2.
The bad Halloween 2, yes.
Yeah.
But clearly it made an impression on some people.
Well, it makes an impression on a lot of people. It's one of the most, I think, widely quoted lines from the New Testament, the Book of Revelations.
Yes. And the Knock at the Cabin has got it. I think the monkey had an allusion to it, because they saw death at the end of the monkey.
Yeah, true. On his pale horse.
Not sure why it's a horse, other than the Revelations connection, because I think some people suggested it's got a drug connection. But I'm pretty sure horse is heroin.
In which case it would be hovering over Audrey.
You'd think so, and Coke, I don't think has an animal equivalent, to my knowledge.
That might be an answer for... that might be a question for the listeners, I think.
Yeah, does Coke have a symbolic animal? We're dancing around the subject here, but we're going to try and keep things lightish, because
I
it
don't
gets
think
heavy.
we can keep
can't
things
really,
light.
Yeah.
Interesting fact, though, did you know that the pale horse is actually green?
I didn't. I knew pale didn't mean white, because there's some internet traffic about that of everyone assumes pale means white, and that's not right at all.
Yeah, it's the word in the original, well, when we say original with the Bible, in the Greek version, is chloros. And chloros means that sickly greenish colour that people turn when they're very ill.
Okay.
Which would make sense that would be associated with death. But by our modern terms, we say that people are turning green.
Yes.
So therefore, Death rode in on his green horse. But I think with the pale horse in literary interpretations, it's usually portrayed as being white or grey.
Yes, and I can imagine both of them are to try and contrast with bone, trying to do something stark like that. So we're not other than a harbinger of death, I think is presumably the reason why the horse is there.
I can't think of any other reason why you would use a kind of whitish horse.
Yeah, and possibly you've got... I mean, it's possible Lynch himself is doing something clever here with Sarah can see the horse, she can't see Death riding on the horse. Maybe that's what she's going for, because she has her prophetic dreams or her dreams of weird mystical things. She's not in the other world in the same way some other people would be. Like, Coop might see something quite different in that same scene.
There's also a lot of sweeping views during that sequence, that rather actually creepy sequence where Sarah Palmer kind of rolls down the stairs.
Yes.
Of that beige carpet, which we previously saw when she had the vision of the blood spreading across it.
Yes, and apparently that was going to transform into Bob's face, but going to look really goofy if they did it.
Yeah, I think
I would ruin the tone.
Glad they left it the way it was. But you have that kind of... It's like a tracking shot that goes through the living room, but at carpet level.
Yes. If they didn't exist at this point, you'd think they'd put the camera on a Roomba.
Yeah, that'd get that shot quite nicely, actually. That's about the only nice thing I can say about the sequence that follows. So I think we need to start at the beginning before we get to this, because before we get to what happens in the Palmer household, we have the misdirect that Ben Horn is Bob. So it starts with Mike having an episode just as Ben Horn walks into the hotel.
Yes.
And later with the notes they find in Laura Palmer's journal and Audrey's testimony, the fact that Ben Horn did sleep with Laura Palmer at least once.
Yes.
And was aware of her being at One-Eyed Jack's, which did not paint him in a terribly good light.
No. And it's you can understand how Coop's come to this conclusion, although if we're stepping back a bit and you're going to be very love-hearted, it's one of the weird ones where Laura is very circumspect about this friend of her father's, but she mentions Ben Horn by name.
Yeah.
It's like, you wouldn't really do that. I mean, okay, maybe it's like the friend of her father is an early entry and the Ben Horn is a later entry. We don't actually know at this stage of the content of the diary, or how those entries are phrased.
Technically speaking, you could know the contents of the diary at this stage because it was published.
But we personally don't know how that pans out, whether there's some reason to... Hello?
I've read it. I do know how this pans out. But yeah, I get what you're saying for the sake of this podcast.
It's one of these whole... It's possible that she doesn't want to name him originally, and later on she's got some confidence and thinks, I'm going to take him down.
I did try to find out at what point the cast were told who Laura Palmer's killer was.
Yeah.
And I don't know the exact time. I do know that originally it was just David Lynch and Mark Frost, but they did tell Jennifer Lynch just so she had the knowledge in the back of her mind while writing The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer.
Which makes sense.
But there was some meeting prior to this episode, at least, where they sat down the relevant people who needed to know and told them who did it. And in particular, I heard that Ray Weiss was kind of disappointed by that, for a multitude of reasons of he did not want to be that person who would do this horrible thing to his own daughter. And two, because he kind of had the feeling that once it was revealed, he would not be able to be in the series much longer, and he liked being in the series.
Well, no comment on that part. I think it's interesting, though, for anyone who sort of... Because we know that in modern fandoms, seem to be much more in modern fandoms, there's everyone likes to buy into the idea the author has pre-planned everything. Nothing has been left to chance. They know exactly how things are going to work.
We've talked about it before, the fact that anything that appears to be an error is intentional.
Yeah. Or it's things like the persistent myth about Star Wars. That the original 3 films were all planned out ahead of time.
Yeah.
Which is completely wrong. Like, he claimed the same thing about Indiana Jones, and there's a wealth of things saying he didn't do that. But I saw it, like, just the other day where someone was saying that J.J. Abrams hadn't planned out the sequel trilogy. And that's why it went so wrong. It's like, no one planned out the original one, and it worked fine. These aren't hard and fast things that people think. At the same time, though, it's... Depending on when that meeting happened, and I think we can be reasonably sure it didn't happen in season 1, they didn't think that how Ray Wise was portraying Leland needed that aspect of knowledge at all. So it's completely suppressed from Leyland as a character.
I think it's an interesting way of doing it, because if you're thinking, even if they knew prior to the start of season 2, which again, I don't know when this meeting took place, the Leyland of season 1 means there would be nothing he could do to give away that fact.
Exactly. But also, it's very much you're really feeding into the psychic parasite thing of the host has no idea. Leyland cannot grasp this is happening to him.
Yeah.
And has no way of knowing it, so he can't experience any guilt. So it does mean... Because I was toying with this a bit, because I was thinking does this explain why he does the show tunes and the old music? Is it a weird arrested development of the point when Bob took over him? And he's trying to regress to the childhood thing. But if that was never part of his direction, it means that no, that this is genuinely how Leyland was grieving. I mean, I think it kind of lines up in retrospect.
It could also be like a records skip, because there is evidently something not quite right with Leyland, be it being broken with grief or being broken because there's this kind of almost extraterrestrial entity inside his head. But you've got this thing where, like, his brain skips out for a moment and kind of gets caught on another groove.
Yeah. So I wonder, it's interesting, it's like, Ray Wise didn't need to know any of this to play Leyland. It's like, how much is in the back of Mark Frost and David Lynch's head of... Because a lot of things in Twin Peaks come down to someone does something really weird and they won't tell you why. And how much of that is we're just screwing around on set, and how much is we know what we're going to do with it later.
It's something that adds to the uncanny valley of Twin Peaks, though, where something weird happens that's completely unexplained, but people continue as normal.
Yes, well, I mean, even in this episode, we have whatever the hell is going on in the Great Northern Hotel, which is absolutely baffling. Because it's sailors with balls bouncing them?
It sounded in my head like shoes in a washing machine.
Yeah, or tap dancing or something.
Yeah, but it's not until you get that long shot and there are, like, I don't know, naval cadets bouncing balls.
Like, what is going on? Very strange. Ben Horn as a misdirect, I can see they at least they wanted the misdirect at least to try and wrong foot people through the episode. Because reading the notes, we discovered that there is a never seen alternate version of Maddie's death, which involves Ben Horn in place of Leyland. And while it doesn't make sense in the context of the episode, it was obviously done as a misdirect. Because we watched it the other day, is the Who Shot Mr. Burns episode of The Simpsons, and we know full well there are alternate sequences of Mr. Burns being shot and then a whole alternate ending to the episode that was produced just so that no one could definitively say how it was going to work ahead of time.
With Who Shot Mr. Burns, there was originally an intention that they would leak different videos to different press outlets and things like that, though it wasn't ultimately done. You can see all of the different variant endings in one of the clip shows, though.
Yes. It's a level of effort that animation is this is one of the bits where animation falls down of. It's a lot more complicated to do that than film half a dozen sequences in quick succession. Because there's a lot more work goes into the animation cells.
We should probably talk about the pale horse in the room, the murder, just to get it out of the way, I think.
Yes, that's what I was going to aim for, because
it's hard. It's hard.
It's deeply uncomfortable. It's interestingly aggressively awful for something that would be very strict in terms of what you could get away with in 1990. There were hard limits of what you can do. Especially
as we were on kind of a syndicated television network.
Yeah, and as I said to you, it's the stark contrast between this and The Return, where half an hour or so into the first episode of Return, there is full frontal nudity and things. And you just will not get that in Twin Peaks proper.
But I presume The Return was on something like HBO?
I can't, something like that. I can't, it was one of the cable networks or one of the subscriber channels. It's not over the air like this one was. And it's really horrible even playing within those rules, because I don't think there's no mention of this is a different edit to what went out on air. This is, as far as I'm aware, this is the only version of this episode that exists.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it is. It's interesting. I use the term loosely because it's a horrible sequence.
In a forensic sense.
In a forensic sense, the interesting thing about it is the fact that it's over 4 minutes long, this sequence. Whereas if you think about most of the time where you see a murder, even in a murder mystery, it is very, very short.
Yeah.
I like that it is so long and so graphic because it doesn't make light of it at all.
No, that's true.
It is a truly horrible thing. We see Maddie being repeatedly punched in the face, Maddie's face being smashed into a glass photo frame at one point.
Yep.
She's thrown on the floor. There's a bit where Leyland/Bob gets on top of her, and it's heavily implied he's doing much worse things to her, though you don't actually see anything, thankfully. Yep. And a horrible, horrible bit where he's kind of dancing with her and switching between the Bob and Leyland personalities while kind of aggressively kissing her face and neck, and then switching to crying for Laura.
Yeah.
I've described it now, you don't have to watch it. It is hideous and it's very, very hard to watch.
Yes. And one point you made, which is interesting, and it's sort of more I think about it, the sort of more I see why we went exactly the way we did, was that it would be more shocking and unexpected if it was Sarah Palmer. And it would be more of a surprise, but you're not going to, the actual brutality of this isn't going to come across if it was Sarah. It has to be a man doing this for it to be as awful as it is.
Yeah, that's true.
You still get the parental thing, that aspect is still bad, but none of the really unpleasantness of this is going to work if it was Sarah Palmer.
No, I suppose not.
But I see where you're coming from, and I think a modern production probably actually would toy with that more.
I think it's the idea is that when you think of a young woman being abused, you think of it as being at the hands of a man. So we've largely never been in any doubt that Bob is male, even knowing that he's a possessive force.
Yes.
Added to the fact that the log lady identified Bob as male, though you could argue that Bob is male.
Yes.
His host doesn't have to be. But it would be even though obviously it does happen, it would be a lot more surprising to have a depiction of a woman abusing and murdering her daughter.
Yes.
Especially in the early 90s on American network TV.
Indeed. I think I would say one thing is I doubt it was what David Lynch was thinking at the time, but I can see it as a thankfully missed problem. Is if you're getting possessive male force inside a female host, you are kind of getting into some very, very bad transgender arguments there. You don't want to go in anywhere near.
I suppose it's not really transgender if you're possessed by a vengeful, unknowable spirit.
Yes, but unfortunately right-wingers don't really see it like that, would they?
No.
You see, this is the shot that was missed. I doubt they were thinking along those lines, but I'm very glad they did veer away from.
No, I can see how people would do that.
Yeah.
You've made a good point there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we've talked about it before in private, like Silence of the Lambs, and how what Thomas Harris wanted to do with that isn't what people took away from it.
I did hear recently, it was an interview with Ted Levine, who played Buffalo Bill, and the fact that he regrets doing it.
Yes, I can understand that.
Because even though the intention was never that Buffalo Bill was transgender, the fact that people have made this takeaway has made Ted Levine really regret playing him.
Yeah. Lindsay Ellis had a video about this. I think it was Lindsay Ellis anyway, but it was all about that and how Thomas Harris was trying to enforce this all the way through the book. There's an awful lot of stuff saying he is not transgender.
Yeah.
And that's not what people took away from it.
I don't think a lot... I have read the book and that is very true, but at the same time, that doesn't really come across on screen.
No. And we've talked about it in other contexts recently, and we'll spare that conversation, but there are problems with how things are presented on screen, and your point might not come across right.
Yeah.
There are mitigating factors why this happens, but it's a thing you probably need to be more careful about.
True.
I do wonder. This is it's a horrible, horrible scene, and I think it's also what gives Twin Peaks part of its mystique, because it doesn't improve itself. It's not afraid to do this. It started with a horrible murder, and we've had glimpses of a horrible murder, and now we've got a much more awful depiction of it. It's actually quite different to the glimpses we had of Laura's murder.
what happened to Laura, you only ever see in very brief flashes.
And from her perspective as well, oddly.
The worst bit of Laura's was from when Doc Hayward described her injuries, from which you get a picture of what must have happened to her.
Yeah, but her one was also weirdly extended, though, because you have all the stuff that's happened at Jacques Renault.
Over 2 locations,
yes.
because then it moves to the train
They
car.
had possibly was consensual at first and veered into a very unpleasant place very fast.
Yeah.
And then you've got the actual murder, which is at the train car.
Mm.
It's curious that we are really going for the burning motor oil as a calling card of Bob now.
Oh, Maddie mentions she can smell burning.
Yeah. And it's come up a few times, and it's actually a weird motif, and I'm not sure why we went with it, all things considered.
Other than I imagine burning motor oil must have a kind of hell stench about it.
I suppose so. Do we have anything else about this horrible, horrible scene? I suppose it's the letter. We know that if none of the rest of it and the reflection and everything else didn't sort of make clear to you that Leyland is Bob, putting the letter under the fingernail really has to be the clincher.
I thought that sequence is awful because up until that point, you might have had the hope that Maddie would get away or get rescued. But the letter feels, oh no, she's gone.
It's the punch. I mean,
yeah.
Renette is still the weird one where she still has a letter somehow and missed it the first time, and I never quite understood how that happened and why apparently Bob came back later and
he must have done. It's the only way you can read it.
But it's why, because she's still alive. She's not done anything for a long time, but she's still around. And it seemed from how Cooper described it is that it is the final act he'll do on a body.
Yeah.
Well, presumably other than wrapping it in plastic and putting it into the river.
It's just tragic for Maddie because no one will come for her either because everyone thinks she's leaving.
Yes. Well, it reminds me of was it the Wests, the infamous family who buried their daughter under the patio or something. The real world in the UK, some decades ago.
Oh, okay.
It's very infamous. They sort of killed one of their daughters and buried them in the patio and were constantly faking phone calls from them.
Oh, I see. To make it appear as though that they had just gone somewhere.
Yes, and they were still alive somewhere else. They just weren't coming from home, or you just missed them. They just rang and sorry, you just missed them. Well, call them back later or something. That kind of thing. But yeah, it sort of there's that aspect to it. I mean, you'd think at some point Maddie's nominal family, because we did discuss where does she fall in the family tree.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's ever been mentioned, and it was in hindsight in this episode when I was thinking about it, of you didn't even see, Maddie's parents, if they are still alive, attending the funeral.
Yeah, okay, so on the wiki, and I don't know whether this information is being pulled from, because, again, it's presumably in print somewhere, I think. Her surname is Ferguson, so we can't actually tell which side of the family she belongs on. Because it could easily be either. We don't know what Sarah's maiden name is.
Yeah, or if Leyland had a sister.
Yeah, we've no idea. I'll look at Leyland in a second. The only people she's got listed are Beth, who is her mother. No, that's it. The other three we know.
It's a good job you didn't just read down there, and Bob, her father.
Oh, Beth is a sister-in-law, so it's on Leyland's family, but she's
Oh, okay, so it's a degree of Kevin Bacon removed again.
No, she was on Sarah's side.
Right.
Sister-in-law. Beth is a sister-in-law, so
Maddie
is...
Her father must have been Sarah Palmer's brother?
Yes, that's the only way we can interpret that.
Cool.
Yeah, so yeah, we know which branch of the family Maddie's on. That run has people who look a lot like Laura Palmer outside the family. Sarah Palmer kind of missed the genes, apparently. They just sort of skipped past it.
Well, they kind of skipped diagonally through generations, apparently.
It's a very strange tree. But yeah, we assume at some point Beth is going to call up and say, have you seen Maddie?
Mind you, Maddie's got her own life. She says she's got her job and apartment in Missoula.
True, but...
So she's not going straight home to her mom.
No, but unless the relationship with her mother is so bad, you've got, a month at best before you'd have some form of contact. I mean, I know this is a gross assumption about how other people's families work, but I don't think I'd have no contact with any member of my family for that long, really.
I think that within a month, if I'd missed a couple of calls with my family, someone would have therefore sent me a panicked message saying, you need to let us know you're all right, which they would have acted on if I hadn't done anything.
Maddie will be missed. And that presumably the unraveling of everything, unless everything goes wrong beforehand. Because
I like to think that based on this, they'll very quickly realise that it can't be Ben Horne.
you'd like to think. I mean, it's one of these weird ones where if you watch a lot of detective procedural stuff, if you watch CSI and Law and Order and everything else, there's the horrible cold-blooded nature of Bob putting on latex gloves before anything happens. So it's like there's no fingerprints. But you also can't but think of, did police procedurals not have DNA in 1990? Because these days you're going, he's just spread evidence everywhere. There are hair molecules, blood, everything. Admittedly, it's his own home, so of course his hair follicles could be there, but you're going to say there's no one else's.
I can actually tell you about this just purely because I read something about it the other day that I'm kind of trying to skim to. When is this actually broadcast, this episode?
1990.
1990. Yeah, you're not quite there yet.
Okay, so this wouldn't be a known concept to audiences.
In 1990 itself, forensic labs began analysing short tandem repeats, or STRs, which are the repeating sections of your DNA strands.
Oh, okay.
But it is much sooner as you think. I actually heard it on a true crime podcast I was listening to recently, and I looked it up.
I'm okay. I'm curious.
So these are the better kind of DNA tests that we have today, because old tests required you to have a lot of DNA to be able to test it, and now this is where you get to they can do it from a hair follicle.
Okay.
But that was only that year.
So it wouldn't be any kind of procedural stuff for quite a while afterwards. Oh, that's interesting then.
And in the United States, the first national DNA database was not till 1995. So even though you could run these tests, you didn't have a database that you could pull information from either.
Yeah. I was just trying to remember back to the X-Files and how often they do DNA, because it's not in the early seasons, is it?
No.
It take a little while.
It is. It's often when you see cases be reopened, because as I said, I listen to true crime podcasts on my walk to work in the mornings. This is just how I wake myself up in the mornings. But if you listen to older cases, often they came to an absolute loggerhead. And then it would be something like 10 years later, something would cause something to be retested. And because they'd had this leap in DNA profiling technology, that's when they get a killer.
I vaguely remember that this is what really screws up the Zodiac in terms of solving it. Like Grayson was saying, it's definitely after the Allen, and DNA test said nope. And his, I think his rebuttal was, "Oh, lots of people have handled that envelope. We don't know." Like that. This is like one of the only bits of evidence you have tying it to the guy.
There's one that's more topical that's kind of interesting, is the Eddowes shawl, which is supposedly the shawl worn by Catherine Eddowes, one of the Jack the Ripper victims at the time they were murdered, that has been passed down through her families. But there is a historian at the moment who reckons that he's got a viable DNA thread from the Eddowes shawl that has 100% named a killer. And, because there is so much doubt that this actually ever belonged to Catherine Eddowes, it can never be proven conclusively.
Yes. Do we have anything else for the grisly murder?
No, can we talk about some non-grisly murder-related things now?
We can. We have one of my favourite moments of all Twin Peaks in this episode, which is the Mighty Boosh effect, I will call it.
Okay.
This is... So the episode starts, though, with all the cops lined up drinking coffee. And you have Mike, supernatural entity, person who can tell you where Bob is right now, or where Bob was at a certain point in time, because we're not quite sure how this skill works, given Leyland was... I don't think we saw Leyland in any scene in the Great Northern.
I was looking for him. I didn't spot Leyland anywhere.
You have that aspect, and then he's just calmly drinking coffee. It's the Mighty Boosh smashing of the absolute fantastical with the crushing mundane, and it's always comedy gold.
I like how we've immediately juxtaposed from the end of the last episode, where Mike was having some kind of seizure and everyone was pinning him down and refusing his medication, to them all calmly drinking coffee.
It's just funny sipping it. I love it. Makes no sense at all, but it's great. Twin Peaks gets away with some things, or go away from some things, because you weren't watching this in high def. You were watching in standard definition, over-the-air broadcast, and American TV signals were, in the 90s, were infamously bad. Like, if you've seen American TV broadcasts, they look really rough compared to the UK stuff. And that probably helped with Mr. Chujimura, who we now know is Catherine Martell. And so at the top we did say yellowface, and we didn't talk about it then because it's meant to be a surprise, but you can't get away from, this is pretty grossly racist.
Yeah, sorry guys, we did infer it was prosthesis before. We didn't want to spoil it in case you were watching along at home. But yeah, this wouldn't fly today. It shouldn't have flied in the 90s, to be fair.
Again, it comes back to a point I've made a few times of, weirdly, what was acceptable in 1990 does feel like a huge gulf from what you are allowed to do these days, or what you should be able to do these days.
It is surprising how many episodes of things, when you're looking back, that were filmed in the 90s have things like blackface and yellowface in them.
And just blatant sexism as well. It's like really unpleasant sexism.
Mm.
And it's one of these things where history moves on and attitudes change, but it's still baffling that this was okay at that point in time as well, because it still should be way past any point where people deemed it acceptable.
Mm.
Because it never was acceptable, but it kept happening, and then people stopped doing it, and then for them to resume doing it is just insane.
Yeah. Yeah, no argument.
Yeah.
In the case of Twin Peaks, though, I think your only painful justification of this, and it is tenuous, is
got to hide her.
You've got to hide her in plain sight, and Catherine is not a nice person.
Yes.
And Catherine is the sort of person who would not see any problem with doing this sort of thing.
Indeed. This is one of the spoilers I didn't know about Twin Peaks going in at all.
Oh, you didn't know about Mr.
I didn't know about no idea about Mr. Jimuro. I had no idea about Maddie, but
when I saw it, I didn't realise it was Catherine.
No.
Though this is what I was indicating last week of if you look up the actor who plays Mr. Tojimura and click the link, particularly on the Wikipedia article, it takes you to Piper Laurie's Wikipedia page, which spoils the twist somewhat. But I didn't know it was her. I could tell there was something wrong. One is that Mr. Tojimura doesn't sound Japanese.
No.
And two is the fact that there is obviously something not quite right, something very plasticky about his face.
And again, the broadcast quality is probably such that you wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah.
We can tell now, but we're not portraying it in the same way.
It's just very stiff and there's very stiff face, not a lot of movement. As we said, in the modern broadcast, you can tell it's a prosthesis. Yeah. And then you've got the fact that the big jam jar glasses and the big mustache hide even more.
And the accent's wrong.
Yeah. They do not sound like a Japanese. It sounds like a white person trying to put on a stereotypical Japanese accent. But yeah.
It's not good. I mean, but we say that, but it's really nice for Pete's reaction. Like, you can't get away from that.
I love Pete's reaction in that moment. It's like, he has the horror when Mr. Tojimura suddenly kisses him. Yeah. But as soon as he realises it's Catherine, he just melts and he looks so childishly happy. And it's like, oh, Pete, any other person would be angry that she'd done this to you.
Yeah.
But Pete is just a saint.
Yes, and with that bit filled in, we can also plot out that Catherine apparently has been in contact with some Japanese company, given that Jerry has confirmed that both Bank and Tokyo have said this is all legit.
Mm.
So she's wired into some kind of organization here. But she's taking a very slow, very deliberate revenge on Ben Horn, because she's built this up for a while and been acting quite aloof.
Yeah.
Because like the whole sort of, you've given me nothing, I'm going to leave, and sort of make him panic.
It's satisfying in a way. Again, it's your weird Twin Peaks things of who am I supposed to feel sorry for now? But Ben Horn is detestable, and if anybody can beat him at his own game, because he seems to have that unshakable monopoly.
Yes.
That you want to see him fall.
Yes. I mean, it's interesting that Ben Horn is it's a step down from, because I don't think I don't know if anyone ever seriously believed he could be Laura's killer. Because I think we made the point back in the pilot, as much as in the pilot no one knew who the killer was, but it's like, Leyland, in retrospect, you can kind of fit into everything. Ben Horn isn't acting the way you'd expect a killer to do it afterhand. Even if you've got the Bob thing to factor into this, it's just nothing about him. It doesn't gel.
I maintain I always thought it was Leyland, and I could not be shaken from this the first time I saw it. But I think it's because Leyland's reactions just always feel wrong and always feel performative.
Yes, it's too over the top. But then,
and it's particularly when you get to the point when he kills Jacques Renault in cold blood, then you've proven that he is also a killer.
Yes. I mean, I think that's also Leyland operating as Leyland. That's not Leyland operating as Bob.
I know, it's in the hindsight is... Though you could argue that maybe the powers that be knew that, whoever's scripting this, whoever is kind of made the Bible that says Leyland behaves in this way, knew that this is where it was heading. But we know that Ray Wise did not know that in his performance.
Yes,
he was not basing Leyland on knowing he was a killer.
And that's one of these important things when you deal with real-world actors, because you've got... One of the infamous examples is Mark Hamill in The Empire Strikes Back.
Mm.
It was the director, George Lucas, and Mark Hamill, the only people who knew No, I Am Your Father.
Yeah.
Because David Prowse on set didn't know that's what the line was. Because he didn't say that on set. Because apparently he was famous for leaking stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like they fed him stuff and it would go out to public almost immediately. So they didn't tell him.
So something different was spoken on set.
It's Obi-Wan Kenobi is your father.
Okay.
And if David Prowse thought that Mark Hamill's reaction was possibly a hair too extreme.
No!
Obviously, James Earl Jones knew, but that was much later and in different circumstances. But anyway, it's one of these things that, I don't know, when I was young, it's hard to appreciate that you need to tell people these things to get them to perform a certain way. But you can also make the comment of, with Twin Peaks, is we also know that David Lynch and Mark Frost didn't actually consider the solution important.
It was supposed to be like The Fugitive.
Yes, meant to be an ongoing thing that maybe, well, in American TV shows of the era, the possibility of getting a solution was basically nil, because very few of them have control over how they end. Because usually your viewing figures have gone too low, we're cancelling it.
Yeah.
If you find out ahead before the last episode of broadcast, maybe you can just make something of an ending. Because we're very used to these days of planned endings and limited runs of things where people know this is the end. And then screw it up by making a sequel series, and it's like, what are you doing?
But usually those hasty endings are, you get to the real killer of Laura Palmer was friendship all along sort of ending to it.
Well, this is part of why in the 90s, if you grew up, the imported anime was so different to the American stuff. Because they'd always come to a conclusion. And it might not be a definitive conclusion, but they'd always come to a last episode. Whereas American stuff is, oh, they stopped making it. Because I remember someone was complaining about this, because apparently Dragon Ball Z, a lot of people keep saying, why was Dragon Ball Z cancelled? And everyone says, it finished. It got to the end of the story. There are sequel series now, but Dragon Ball Z ended. It wasn't cancelled. I know, apparently this is a foreign concept in America, because American cartoons don't come to endings generally. Or you get something like Futurama where it does repeatedly and it's still keeping it going. Which is frustrating. But no, we know that all being equal and having complete control, who killed Laura Palmer would never be revealed. So yeah, it is an interesting question of when they finally made the decision and who got told when and how that affected things.
Yeah. Who do you want to talk about next?
We should probably could do Donna and James, but I don't know. Okay.
You can get Harold in there as well.
It's like James. It's absolutely Donna's fault that Harold is dead. I'm really sorry about this, James. I know you're trying to comfort her as her boyfriend.
If she had left him alone.
Yeah, if she hadn't done any of that, or hadn't roped Maddie into this bizarre heist thing, he would still be alive. I'm sorry, there's no other read of this situation.
I realised when you're doing the description, I should have added to the content warning suicide at the start as well.
I think
sorry about that, guys. But yeah, at least it's not horrendously graphic. You just see his legs hanging in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we knew that Harold was emotionally and psychologically vulnerable.
Yep.
We abused that trust wholeheartedly and repeatedly, even though Harold kept letting them back in. As much as I dislike Harold as a character, they caused this.
Yes.
There's no beating around it, really.
Donna principally, James has some culpability, Maddie has some culpability.
Yeah.
It's mostly Donna's fault.
Interestingly, I did read an anecdote where I can't remember the name of the actor who played Harold now.
I can't either, but...
it's Lenny something or other. But he actually came to an idea of how he'd rather Harold went out. And his idea was that essentially Harold would be overcome while gassing his orchids, which we saw in the last episode, him tearfully and aggressively kind of spraying something over the orchids, and that he'd be found kind of like slumped in the room covered in flowers. And he pitched this to David Lynch, who reportedly left an answer phone message for him that said to the effect of, Lenny, if you have a great idea, don't come to me with it the day before filming.
Yes, because apparently they'd already constructed the rafters to support the body or something.
Yeah.
It's too late.
But that's why they did keep in that previous episode of him gassing the flowers, so there was an element of his preferred death scene in there.
Which is nice. I mean, again, if you read some of his commentary, it's how his direction to play Harold is quite different to our modern interpretation of it. we keep coming back to this whole, it's actually very weird looking at a 90s TV series and going, oh my god, you actually did this back then? Like, doesn't fly anymore.
And nobody caught it. Nobody got angry about it.
No. Well, I mean, you have Ben Horne admitting to statue rape with Laura Palmer, which doesn't seem to diminish his standing at all.
No.
That's astonishingly bad.
It's apparently a thing that happens in Twin Peaks.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know.
The darkness in the forest has a lot to answer for.
But let's do Donna and James a bit more of, we've got a reiterance of the psychic wound that Laura Palmer's death caused, but they're weirdly more sensitive to this time because they actually feel it as it happens. Whereas Laura was, you had to be told it. Maddie is, they're experiencing something in the air.
That whole sequence with the owls at the roadhouse is actually kind of fascinating when you watch it. So just kind of dissecting it a bit more is the log lady approaches Cooper and says the owls are gathering at the roadhouse.
She says there's owls in the roadhouse.
There are owls in the roadhouse. And he goes with her and sits and essentially watches a floor show at the bar.
Yep.
Which is interrupted midway through when everyone vanishes from the stage and just the giant appears to say it's happening again. At which point we see this sort of ripple spread through the group where certain characters either look shocked or burst into tears, with the two most prominent being Bobby and Donna. But also, Cooper looks somewhat perturbed, and we noted in that it's unclear if the log lady can also see what's happening on the stage, because she does kind of move when the giant appears.
She does. Yeah, we don't know quite if that's in David Lynch is a problem of the mistakes could be genuine mistakes being left in.
And finally, you still get that, we have to assume he's an agent of good, the kind of bellhop from the hotel who comes and apologises to Cooper afterwards and then walks off again.
I had a realisation watching that scene as well, though, which I don't think I've ever tangled with before. Log Lady says there's owls in the roadhouse. No one ever says the owls are bad.
They're just not what they seem.
They're not what they seem. So we take it as read that I think the bellhop or the senile serviceman is a supernatural entity of some kind, definitively, and the giant is in there some capacity.
I took as they are the owls.
Yes, that's it. But
I don't know what they are.
No, but when I was younger, I always, for some reason, thought of the owls were always sinister because they can be filmed and made quite sinister. And we've talked about the fourth kind.
You've also got the kind of metaphors is owls are often used as a metaphor for death and things.
Yeah, it's only on this rewatch I've realised that they don't. When she says owls, she doesn't mean that's a bad thing.
There are two other things in note that I'll address here because I'm sure someone will otherwise bring them up. Is there is a character sat in that scene who looks like Jerry Horne, but it has been confirmed it is not him.
That would actually sort of make his assertion that Tojima is on the level really mean he's undercutting his brother.
Yeah.
And he's actually instrumental in his downfall, which we're pretty sure he's not.
There is also comments been made about the fact that the man behind the bar has a striking resemblance to Harold, which indeed he does. If you freeze frame it, he's dressed very similar to Harold. He's got a similar face shape, similar hair, but it is not Harold as well. No one's ever really mentioned it, and no one knows if it's consciously supposed to be him or just a happy coincidence.
Yeah, and there's some terminology we can't use still, which is one of those, you could make a suggestion about what the Roadhouse is based on some later stuff, which we can't get to yet.
No, you gotta save that one.
But you know I'm getting
Yeah.
But there's
I just almost said it myself when I was describing them, but
there's a tangent you can make off this, which is kind of fascinating at the same time. They never thought that. That is not part of the thinking at this stage.
And we also have the reuse of red drapes, which has been signified with kind of Cooper's dream state since that first scene with the man from the other place.
Yes, also sinister given it's like One Eye Jacks is just filled with red drape.
Yeah.
It's meant to be otherworldly, but also it's a sinister aspect, isn't it? You expect something bad to be there.
But this is kind of our final point of the episode, our final chilling point after Maddie's murder and Cooper getting the message of it has happened again.
But Bobby and Donna, of all people, pick up on this. James doesn't so much.
Well, I was thinking that is, you've kind of got somebody who was deeply connected with Laura on a spiritual level, like Donna.
Yep.
And you've got someone who was deeply connected with her on a physical level, because we've mocked Bobby in the past for his experience with making love to Laura Palmer that left him in tears.
I still love it. It's
So
an experience.
But you've possibly got the two people who are most connected with her in Twin Peaks in that room.
Yes. Now, there's an interesting wrinkle. James is chopped liver.
Well, yeah, he really is.
He really is. Apparently he meant nothing to her.
He didn't get the transformative Laura Palmer experience that the other two have had.
And he's also not keyed onto this wavelength they are.
Mm.
It's a very odd conscious choice, because the description makes it sound like he reacts more, but if you watch the episode, he's responding to Donna, he's not responding to the moment.
But you do have degrees in Twin Peaks, because you have the people like Sarah Palmer and Margaret Lanternman who are connected to whatever this force is. And you have people like, say, Norma or Big Ed who have no idea.
Yes. It is one of the ones where you want to say, spiritual forces, I love that you're trying to help us. But this is like The Messengers.
The Messengers is an old horror movie, a ghost...
Not that, it's like 2000s.
That's old at this stage. Horror movie that is a ghost-based one where the ghosts are trying to essentially warn the people in the house to spoil it, but they are doing so by being as terrifying as possible.
Well, not only terrifying as possible, by making the main character look like she's self-harming herself.
Yeah.
And causing perils to others, and it's like, this is the worst communication method I've ever seen.
Though I'm going to cite 222 in that.
Yes.
222, the stage play, it's a ghost story, but it's all done as a discussion about whether or not there's life after death. And in that, they point out the fact that you've just died, you've had a massively traumatic experience, you're thrown back into this world. Who can say how you would behave, because you're just acting out of pure confusion.
That said, though, I think 222 makes a big thing of you fall into a routine, whereas the Messengers, they're cognizant they're dead.
Yeah.
And to be geekier, let's go for the video game reference. This is kind of like Final Fantasy 13, where the god, computery alien god things of the world can't talk to you properly. They can only show you a vision and hope you do the right thing. And 3/4 of the way through the game, you meet the one who can speak English, which just tears a hole in the entire problem.
Mothman prophecies. You're more advanced than a cockroach. Have you ever tried explaining yourself to one?
Yes. No, sorry. I mean, yes, that's a good example. That came out later.
Not unless you've...
No, I haven't tried it. And it's one of the... I get what it's getting at. It's one of those problems of, if you can vocalize communication and understand what I'm saying to you, then you can do it back to me. I can't do that with a cockroach. Indrid Cole, you can understand me, so what's your problem? It's a lovely line, but it doesn't quite work for Indrid Cole. Or the Mothman, or whatever it was.
Poor old Indrid.
I quite like the Mothman prophecies, but it is a slightly frustrating watch of, no, you can definitely say, oh, the bridge is going to collapse. Don't be so poetic.
Great tragedy on the River Ohio.
Yeah, you're allowed to say that if there's not a chemical plant up the river. It's a very nicely done scene, and it's sort of... Again, it's interesting that Donna and Bobby are the ones affected by it, more so than anyone else. Again, it's like, are we queuing up James to just be jettisoned from things? Because it's like, no special connection with Laura at all.
Mm.
You apparently meant nothing to her. So...
What little subplots we've got?
Well, the Tangled one, it's like, it's Leo, Shelley, and Bobby, and that sort of Venn diagrams into Norma, Nadine, and Ed, because the two scenes blend into each other. They're not separated.
Let's start with Leo, then.
I need to stop being so mean, but it's like, Eric DeRay really playing to your strengths now.
New shoes.
I'm pretty sure this is one of those other thorny areas where this is probably not the most respectful depiction of anyone in this mental state.
Again, it's the awkward morality, though, of Leo is the worst human imaginable.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say he deserves this, but you don't feel sorry that he's wound up in this state.
No.
But at the same time, Shelley and Bobby have become the kind of people that would abuse someone in that state.
Yes, and basically are, because they're using his money for their own ends.
I do like that everything's coming undone the way Cooper predicted it would, as Shelley's now discovered she's got something like $46 a month to live off.
Yep.
After all Leo's expenses. So, maybe you should have turned him in while you had the chance.
Well, good idea. Again, not to make too much fun of Eric DeRay, but it's still that same problem that season 1 had of, it's like, Bobby and Shelley can absolutely sell Leo a threat. He can't do it, but this time it's kind of played almost for laughs, because it's like they're reacting to nothing. But it's still got the full force of his threat behind it in terms of how they're reacting to it.
I quite enjoy it. Seen in the scene where he makes a sudden, very loud sound, and the two of them leap up screaming.
it's like it's that wrestling thing of they can absolutely sell the threat.
It's also the terror that it might just have been Leo lunging at them.
Yes, I don't understand why.
Mm.
I think the thing that doesn't really make sense to me is Shelley quitting her job.
When they need money.
When they need money and they've only got $42 spare, and it's like, and I understand the whole implication is meant to be that they need to be there to look after Leo, but she and Bobby have left him alone anyway, and they don't really care for him all that much. So I don't quite understand why she wouldn't continue working at the Double R Diner.
I imagine it's just off the basis of that sequence with Bobby, where Bobby's kind of made clear the fact that he's not as invested in this relationship as she maybe first thought. That when he says, "Oh no, I've got to go to school," and leaves her with him.
There's something collapsing of the Bonnie and Clyde fantasy of, yeah, he's still in school. I mean, there's a good chance that you and Shelley and Bobby are actually the same age. We don't know for sure.
I get the impression Shelley is slightly older than him, but at the same time, she was forced to drop out of school, so there's not much in it.
No. But it's that the whole... It seems mad that they're doing this insurance scam and Bobby's still trying to graduate high school.
But I think Shelley's starting to realise that maybe Bobby is not the knight in shining armour she thought he was.
Yes, well, if we're gonna... It's one of those things that you try not to label things the same, but he's that very classical bad boy. It's like, because he's wild and tamed and fixated on you. It's very much the teenage fantasy for girls, as far as I understand it. It's the dark brooding, totally into you, sexy and everything else. Doesn't play by the rules. And Shelley's finding the limit where the fantasy hits reality and the fantasy comes off quite badly.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole lot of things that they should be doing they can't.
But also the naivety of Bobby of he thought Leo would be a cash cow and he's actually a money pit.
Yes. It is one of the ones where I suppose it's, again, I'd like to think that that's the writers deliberately playing into Bobby's being too young. Like, we made I can't remember what character we were talking about. It was like something about romance and things. It was very much a childish view of romance versus some of the older characters.
Mm.
And it might have been Laura or Donna or Audrey. It might have been actually been Audrey's view of things. Oh, no, that was it. It was Audrey's femme fatale wannabe attitude.
Yeah.
Versus how the actual operators work in the kind of adult world. And how it doesn't work like it does in the films.
Mm.
And I'd like to think the writers have done it with Bobby of, you thought this was going to be easy selling, but you're not prepared for the complexity of actually caring for people.
Mm.
Though Shelley has also kind of undermined some of her sympathy a bit.
I do kind of like, you've got a bit more of the childishness, though, of the fact that Bobby has essentially decided there is hidden treasure somewhere on the property that he's going to find.
Yeah, and...
It's a very soap opera plot.
Yes, but it also puts me in mind, it's most of the internet sleuthing these days of alternate episodes and secret episodes. It's you get your Charlie Day string board conspiracy wall to say there's going to be another episode this week.
Yeah.
And sorry, there never is.
Mm.
I don't think any of these have ever panned out to be an accurate one yet. The Sherlock one wasn't.
No,
There's
true.
been a big one about that, but there's been some other ones more recently that just haven't panned out.
Recently, if you want to go for the most recent one like that I've seen, is the now we've had it, the finale of The Amazing Digital Circus. There is a live action shot, which I won't spoil for people who haven't seen it, towards the end. But in that live action shot, you can see the numbers 314. And people are, a vast majority of the blue sky theorists I've seen think that it is actually 3/4, which is going to be the date that they release the next episode.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry, no. It concluded. It's an ending. You can see the fact it's an ending. There's nowhere for the story to go.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this more another time. But
you'll know next year on either the 3rd of the 4th or the 4th of the 3rd, however you're reading that, when that passes, that this theory will be put to bed.
I seem to remember that someone said there'll be because we went to the cinema to see the last episode, that what we saw in the cinema is not what will be on YouTube. If anyone hasn't seen it yet, I hate to break it to you, they're the same. I've seen both of them now.
Yeah.
There is the only thing...
Yes, I heard that theory too. The theory that it would have a different ending when it was released on YouTube.
I will say there is actually a difference. The synopsis is missing, the fish narrating to you is missing, and the bridge between the last 2 episodes is missing.
Well, as you would expect.
Exactly. Everything else is still there.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. But yes, that's the kind of energy that Bobby has in looking for something. And
Yeah.
it's like that. The shoes that he sent for cleaning. I mean, it's almost disappointment that there is something to do with the shoes. Because it'd be quite funny for him to sort of chase this down and be nothing to it.
Oh, of course, he's found the little cassette tape.
And I think I know what's got to be on there.
Mm.
I don't think it's going to help him that much, given who's got to be on the tape and what they're doing.
There's a lot of efforts to conceal that in a shoe.
It really is. I mean, I'm guessing that Leo just gave the shoes over with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, didn't they find shoes when they raided Leo's house? Weren't there shoes like that boarded up bit that had cocaine and money in them?
There were, yes. Because they identified the treads of them.
I don't know if Bobby knows that, because that's the thing he should be looking for.
And this feeds into, of course, Big Ed and Norma.
Well, no, just one more of that is, you said the other day, we haven't seen Mike in a while. Well, here he is.
There was a rare Mike cameo, yeah.
Looking shockingly old. I mean, you made the point that TV is famously miscast, especially this period of time.
In this series, none of these teenagers look like teenagers.
But he looks really past.
He's
teenage.
huge.
He is.
Yeah. So our comedy subplot this time is still Ed and Nadine. I love Ed's just perpetual look of terror.
I mean, I don't know if I want him to have called ahead or something of. Then again, I'm thinking, what conversation are you going to have with the phone with Norma? Say, right, I'm going to come to the diner with Nadine. She thinks she's a cheerleader in school. No, I'm not joking. Stop laughing.
I think he needs some flashcards he can hand out or something.
He needs some way without trying to steer the conversation as awkwardly as he does.
I like that it runs on from the kind of tearful scene where Shelley hands in a notice.
Yes, we've just completely shifted mood and music and everything else.
But it's got some amazing bits where she still doesn't seem to have this ability to see that anyone's aged around her. So she asks Norma how long she's been working there, and Norma says, 20 years. And Nadine just kind of pauses for a second and says, oh, you kidder.
Well, the edges as she's kidding.
Yeah.
It's curious as well, though. She's only perceiving people she knew before as being her age. Anyone she went to school with, anyone outside that group, which includes Shelley and James so far, she sees as they actually are.
Yeah. She thinks that they're also her age.
Yeah. Well, no, but they're her mental age. So,
yeah.
Because again, we've talked about Shelley is presumably not 18 or has only just hit 18. She's younger than she's meant to be.
But at least Norma says, are you in our class too?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Which is probably the best answer. Yeah. And that I like where the whole tissue of lies starts to run a bit thin, because she pauses and says, whose house are we at, Ed? Is it my house or your house?
Ed hasn't made a very good cover story.
But how would you?
Yeah.
Because it's the whole, you can't support this kind of lie or this kind of simulation.
You're not even at the stage where you could send everyone an email saying, hey, just so you know,
no. Or text
Norma
message.
thinks she's 16.
He's got no way to quickly communicate with anyone that this is happening. I mean,
his response is just looking perpetually terrified.
Yes. Yeah, he, Norma, and Nadine really should have sat down and thrashed this out and done something. And he still feels guilty for shooting her out. I do understand this. He's really landed himself in the worst of all possible worlds.
Yeah.
Have we left anyone out?
I don't think we have.
I suppose we haven't talked about Coop much at all.
No.
But then he's not much to say about him yet.
We've kind of touched on Coop's various scenes, like discovering Ben Horn and then the incident with the owls.
Yeah, and reading her diary and sort of putting that back together.
Mm.
But I think it's it's got to be an odd experience for the audience. Not so much if you knew ahead of time. The fact that can people appreciate that his conclusions are completely logical but wrong? Or is it just frustrating to watch?
I think he's come to the best possible conclusion from the information he has. He would have no way of knowing it's Leland Palmer.
No.
Based on everything you've seen, based on Mike, based on the diary, based on Audrey, everything points to Ben Horn.
Again, I come back to supernatural forces. I know you can't say directly, but you could be clearer than this.
The phrase is outdated, but there is a concept called the Chinese room.
Oh, well, that rings a bell, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has actually come into vogue recently, the Chinese room. But the Chinese room is often used as an argument against AIs. Because essentially, in the Chinese room, you feed information into the room. Specifically, you feed Chinese characters into the room and it spits out a translation. But you cannot see what's going on in the room. So, from your perspective, you don't know kind of what's going on the other side of that door as the person on the outside. Maybe you've got that kind of situation.
Yes.
The original idea of the Chinese room is there was someone in the room, they were sending a response, but you could not be sure if they understood what was being fed to them or if they were just, creating a pre-prepared response out to you, was the general idea of it anyway.
And sometimes they give you a machine for pigs.
Yes.
No one's favourite thing. And Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, or did they get taken off that? I can't remember any.
You are feeding stuff to the owls. The owls are spitting out a response. You don't know what this internal process is or what it's going through to get that response.
Yes, we do. The giant inferred there are rules about talking to people directly. We don't know why they are there or who's enforcing this or why you'd actually do this. It's like in the back of my mind though, I was thinking, I don't think Bob plays by those rules. I'm pretty sure that the rest of them are hamstrung by something. He's not. He doesn't care. Everyone else is doing the letter of the law, and he's subverting it. And I think that's
an agent of chaos.
And I think that's half the problem, and why he is causing problems is you're not meant to operate like he does.
Yeah.
But what he's up to is, I think he's shortcutting a process that should take longer.
Yeah.
And that's what has drawn Cooper's attention. Because if he was acting as the rest of them were, no one would have noticed. Laura would be alive. One thing. Bob isn't playing by the rules. I think is I think is in there. I don't know. And that's a problem. Because the other supernatural entities aren't going to help you because they are playing by the rules. Okay, so we're taking a week off next time. Okay, so next time is Drive with a Dead Girl, which after the end of that episode that's really horrifying.
Yeah.
If you'd like to get hold of us, our email address is thingsgettingstrange42@gmail.com.
You can also find us on social media, and please do hook me up if you would like me to present anything at the start of this show related to Twin Peaks, The X-Files, or Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. We're on Blue Sky and Tumblr at GetStrange42, and on Facebook, where you can find us by searching for Things Are Getting Strange and X-Files Rewatch Podcast. Also, if you're not sick of my voice right now, I do stream live on Twitch TV, Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 PM GMT, and Saturdays at 5 PM GMT. My username there is AdverseCamber42, and I'm currently playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and Digimon Story Time Stranger, both on PlayStation 5.
Our theme music is A Vision by Kevin MacLeod. You can find that on Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, please remember...
It is happening again.